This is Charlie Bravo, and you're watching MD90.
Subscribe.
Remember, I almost said follow. This is MD90, and you're I'm not good at this shit. This is Charlie Bravo, and you're tuned into MD90. Don't forget to subscribe. Peace.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, as I told you, my guest today is Charlie Brown. Welcome to the program.
Are we supposed to be shaking hands?
We accepted it. We take it. So, no, these guys are not aware of the barrier. I mean, whatever, the barrier.
Yeah.
So we take it.
No, I thought it was part of the show just now. Like I was trying to make it part of the show.
Oh, no.
I was just being fun.
I don't know.
It's going to be part of it.
It works. So, I don't even know where to start. That's the problem when you have a lot of questions for someone, you tend to be all over the place. Let's start from Sling Beats.
Yeah.
How did Sling Beats come about?
Well, I used to be a lot of things before Sling Beats itself. I always thought I was a businessman. I've always thought I was a businessman.
Wow.
So I ended up in music in the end, but before that, I did quite a lot of things. I was into meat supplying.
Wow.
My first business actually was a grocery store when I was 19.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
within Lusaka?
Within Lusaka in Avondale, yeah. If you know the Blue House, if you know New Avondale, when you work with, they say Blue House. Yeah, just opposite there. Like I used to have, like that was the first business I had, and with a friend of mine. And yeah, so I went into a lot of different businesses, and then I ended up being a real estate agent, and then I created a real estate management company. Yes. Just before music. But music and art has always been part of me. Yeah, so.
Well, like from high school, or just naturally inclined to the arts?
I was like growing up as a kid. I used to paint and draw and stuff like that. Like so, even if I was hanging out with friends, we'll be like in the playground. I'll be drawing something on the ground, or I'll be carving something. So art was always there.
Imagination has always.
Yeah, and then I used to write these short stories. I used to write these short stories in an exercise book. Yeah. And then when I'd be done with the book, I would give it out to my friends, and then it would make the rounds in the neighborhood, and people would read my stories.
That's how good the stories were.
Apparently, people like them. So yeah. So I come from a background of writers. My dad was a novelist. He never published anything, but he was a librarian as well. So I grew up around books. My older brother Chansa, the late, was also like a huge like inspiration to me. He was a really good writer compared to me.
Are you sure?
He was a good writer.
So you moved from butchery or meat business to real estate, and then you.
Yeah, because the art all that time, the art was almost like a sideline. Like it's something I did.
Oh, you didn't doing these businesses.
Yeah, it was just like a sideline, something I did naturally.
Yes.
So I would, for instance, music is not my first love. My first love is painting. So whenever I would be painting, I would be writing songs just to keep myself busy. So music was never like this.
You're going to art.
Yeah, it was not the thing. When I was young, I used to rap with a friend of mine, and we used to do all sorts of stuff. Like I was interested, but it was just one interest. But I always wanted just to be a painter. And I was an abstract painter. Unfortunately, the time when I was doing abstract painting, like Zambians never understood. I felt like Zambia never understood what's abstract. Because they'll see a face and they'll be like, what is this? Like,
what's going on?
Yeah, because they want to see something.
That's obvious.
Like I'll do crazy stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, so music was a byproduct of my art, you know, and I did go into graphic designing because I couldn't make money from my art. And then I went into real estate, and it's the time when I was a real estate agent, and then I had this property management company with a friend of mine who used to do pest control, all sorts of things. That's when I decided that, you know, I need to give this up.
Sure. I mean, like give the real estate.
Yeah, I not necessarily give it up, but I thought I could run a studio and also be able to do.
So the studio concept, were you looking at from the painter's point of view, or literally it was music when you?
No. At that point it was music. At that point it was music because I remember I started visiting, because I wanted to be an artist. So I started visiting. I don't know if a lot of people know about Drake's. I met Drake's. He was a guitarist, and I started going. He introduced me to TK.
Yeah. TK was running by then.
Yes, TK he's younger than me, much younger than me. But there was this boy who was making music.
Yeah.
So I thought, let me go.
Was he making a wave at that time, or was just underground?
Well, he was underground enough because that was before Exile.
Yes.
In fact, I think I took Exile the first tour. So at that point, it was just like, oh, there's this boy who does really, really good beats. So I started going there to try and get my music.
So from Avondale you used to come down this way?
Then I was in, where was I? Yes, I think I was in Avondale. So yeah, so I would take off 2 days of my time at the management, at the real estate place.
Yes.
And I say, I would wear my red jeans and I carry my guitar, and then I was just like,
oh, you've been playing guitar at that point?
Yeah, Drake's taught me to play guitar, and I bought a guitar, and then.
How long? What was the duration of your apprenticeship?
I think I learned how to play guitar in like 3 months.
Wow.
Yeah, I was. Like it's not the best. I'm not the best guitarist, but I'm a composer.
Yes.
So I learned. As soon as I learned like 4 or 5 chords, I was ready to go.
Yeah.
And I could start to compose with the few chords that I had.
Yes.
Yeah, so I would go to TK's studio, and obviously it used to be really, really busy, and I would have to say that he did open my mind in terms of, because I came from
you wanted to sing.
I just wanted to sing and rap, yeah. Because I was trying to be like a gospel artist or whatever.
Oh, you went to gospel.
Yeah, I mean like Sling Beats. The first time Sling Beats was created.
Yes.
I never used to record secular music, not at all.
Wow.
I'd say like, listen, I'll make your music, but I'll not promote you because I don't believe in that, But as God would have it,
yes.
Most of the gospel artists used to kind of like look down on us because our studio was hungry.
Yes.
And gospel studios were really, really good.
You haven't yet set it up at that point. The kind of you used to move between TK and...
Yeah. So I got inspired by what TK was doing because I was in studios way before that. Yes. The studios were like big studios, and they were complicated studios. Yes. And then I just found
it. Instead of motivating the realize like the level of equipment in here to take me.
Yeah, the dude is just like, there's a keyboard, there's a thing, and then he's making these fat beats, and I'm like, so I never wanted to produce in a sense, but I would go there and I would almost produce my own music because I would tell him, this is how I want my beat to go and da-da-da-da. Yeah. And we can have another interview over there. Yeah. Because he even up to now says like, dude, you used to come through and you used to be like, I want my hi-hats to be like this. Like he could already see that I was a producer, but I did not think of myself as a producer.
Yes. You just knew what you wanted for yourself.
Yes, so I'd be like, no, because the song already plays in my head. Yeah, so I was already producing, but it was a blessing because I could see that this is something that I could do. Yeah. So I decided to set up a studio to make my own music, just to make it easy for me to make my own music. And then I never made my own music.
So now you set it up, you are the producer at the station, or who are you with at the time?
I used to work with Drake's. Like Drake's was my co-producer. Yeah. very good guitarist, and I feel like, you know, the sound even that we created at the beginning would not have been created if it was not for that guitar influence.
So, how do you get the attention from the public? Like, how do people know that, hey, there's something going on here?
Yeah, well, you know, people are always out looking for
interaction.
Yeah, people are, like when you go to a studio, people are gonna be like, oh, there's a studio here, and people come through. And then I had like people like Christo Sean come through.
Yeah. Christo was the first artist.
Yeah, Christo Sean was the first serious artist.
Yeah.
Yeah, but otherwise we had all sorts of people. There's a guy called Kabol.
Yeah.
Who is nice now called Tice.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like him and his gang, and we had all sorts of people, BMK, BML or something like that. Like we
had so many people. The first scope of artists that were coming through.
Yes, like BML was the first artist I think I might have signed. Also Tio was like.
You actually signed him when he used to just come through.
He was too young to sign.
Yeah,
he was about 16 or 17, so we thought of him as our artist, but he could have even been 15 or something like that. So definitely we're not going to sign him up. And then people like also Tommy D, these are people who were quite young as well at the time. They were still in secondary. Tommy D, Mampi, although we ended up...
at this point, the mindset of a music label had already hit you, it was just people...
No, I mean, like from the get-go, I decided we're going to do this, you know?
Yeah.
It's just that, like, some of the most talented people were too young to promote. Like, I remember I came from a Christian background or something. I was not going to take people into bars and for shows and things like that before they were the age that so that's why even Tommy D, we never actually released the album because he was still at secondary and I was trying to be like a responsible person. Even Mampi, I had to wait for Mampi to
get of age
to finish, at least just finish a GED and then we can work, you know. So Mampi stuck around and then we were able to release her album.
Songwriting has always been part of it. You didn't have to sit down and say, no, now I'm focusing on it. It was a natural gift.
I think songwriting is not just songwriting. Songwriting is just writing. You know, so I was writing since I was in grade 7, grade 8. I was already writing stories. I was writing, you know. So songwriting for me was never like there was no moment when I thought that
it's been part of your
and I was a rapper. You know, like when you're a rapper, you think a lot more lyrically.
Yes.
Yeah, so that gave me like my background as coming from a family where people just wrote for fun. And then also people that love music. Like it was just never something that I
So what was the first album to come off Sling Beats? Or it was a series of albums?
The first album to come off Sling Beats would have been there was a compilation which featured the people like John D, which we never actually released officially, but that's the one that made people know that we could make music. And then there was another compilation.
Music station had access to it, but it doesn't.
Yeah, it was just like underground because you know the stuff that DJs play in the night. And we got some juice from that because people were like, oh, these guys can actually...
It's a song that's been playing at this location.
Who are these guys? So then there was the first compilation which was official, which was Umfweni. Yeah, and then that...
What year was this?
That was 2002.
That's the official...
Yeah, that was an official release where we actually had I remember a friend of mine did the album cover for that, like when he had like an ear, and even up to now I was like, hey dude, I need my money back. You know, so. Okay, well it looked dope at the time, you know? So Umfweni was I can't stand to listen to it now.
Obviously, as you
but I'm learning to be proud of it.
So it is a combination of
artists. Without it wouldn't have so even most of the artists that we ended up working with, well, at the beginning, ended up coming from that. And we took it on tour, you know. And then after that, the first Chameleon was released.
Yes.
So it was a stage.
So was Chameleon during the first stage where Mampi, Tommy Victor, and then we came on later on?
No, he was on that compilation.
Oh, okay.
So it was on that compilation. I don't think Mampi was on it. I don't remember, but I do remember that Mafela, which is Tommy D and them. And you know what? People don't give Tommy D enough props because he started this whole hip hop thing in Zambia, and he started it on that project.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you know, like I don't know if you know songs like Mverani. You know, like there was a song called Mverani, and then there was another song called Kukacha Nishikade Kayamba, and you know what I'm saying? Like those guys were already forming the platform for what is hip hop in Zambia right now. So yeah, people don't give him enough props, but I think he's the godfather.
So there's this thing that's been going on. David Sling Beats, or how?
Yeah, I told you, like when I started out, I was very, very spiritual. So like even my company name used to come from the Bible.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not saying I'm not spiritual anymore, but you know, like I was at a certain place in my life.
Yes.
And obviously we were trying to take on like a big industry, and we felt like we were the small guys. So we were David, and then the industry was Goliath. You know, so I went to Pakra to try and register the company as David Sling. And then someone misled me there, being young and not knowing.
Yeah.
They said, no, is your name David? I'm like, no, I'm not David, but this is no, you can't have David if your name is not David. But by that time, people were already calling the beats that we used to make. The company was supposed to be David Sling, but the beats that we used to make and the music we used to make, people used to say Sling. You know, it's a sling, so it's like Sling Beats. And there's a guy, he calls himself Bray English now. You know, we used to call him Dodie back in the day. So he's the one who kind of like came up with the Sling Beats, you know. And
so that's the official.
And then I just went and registered that because it became so popular. Yeah. So we forgot about the David Sling.
And then again, you've been credited to be behind in terms of the pen writing now. Most of the albums that came from Sling Beats, or it was the artists that were behind them. For example, the Chameleon albums.
Chameleon is really, really good at choruses, you know, and
melodies, you mean?
And melodies, yes. So sometimes he'll come up with a chorus, and then sometimes I'll just give him words, and then But I've written a lot of most of the stuff that we did together, because that was the relationship. You're the guy who can sing, you're the guy who can come up with melodies. You know, I am going to be the guy who writes for you. So you just sometimes come up with an idea and I'll finish it, or I'll come up with an idea and he would finish it. So it was a very symbiotic sort of relationship. And I've worked with different people in different capacities. You know, like even if I worked with Roberto.
Was Roberto around the studio at that time?
Roberto came much later on.
Was his big brother there yet?
Ozzy came quite early. And then Ozzy's had quite an influence as well. And I used to write and produce for him. And then he would write. But I would say that when we used to work together, again, it was a relationship where I am the guy who writes and produces, and then but whenever he'll come up with anything, so you find that some of the albums, you will find some songs where he developed the ideas and came through. So I'm not the sort of person who pushes people to do what I want them to do, unless they want to do what they want. You know what I'm saying? So in a lot of ways, I'll give you an example. Like Mambi's album was produced mainly by Hamoa.
Was Hamoa signed as a producer, or he was
he came as a producer, so he worked as a producer.
Around the same time with Chipo, or?
By that time, I think he was kind of like slowing down. I don't know why he doesn't produce.
Who came first, Chipo or Hamoa? Chipo, the one that's in Ziki.
Yeah, no. Oh, sorry. Like I had another producer after that called Chipo. No, Hamoa definitely came. Hamo was one of the first people at the studio. So,
when did you discover you had skills in production, or you developed them from the studio?
You know, I think he came as a package. Like he could sing and he could produce, and then he could sing. I think I heard him first on Chimalita with Danny.
Oh, he's a person. Chimalita, no, that's that song. That's that song.
Oh,
that's that song.
No, Danny produced that one for him, and he was on the track. That's what I'm thinking about. Okay. But you know what? Like I got to know him from that song, and he came that and he presented it and said, "This is me." I was like, "Okay, this is dope." You know? Then he says, "No, I can produce." So now he ended up like Hamo had to really wait for his album to be released. And he had to be very patient.
Or it was already done, or was
no, just the process of working on the album. It took quite a long time for him to release his own album.
So
first,
that came up with a respondent and then with
Namanje.
Yes.
Namanje was an idea that I came up with because people then did not understand the music that we were making. So whenever
you guys were more inclined to R&B, like
and people didn't know what that was. So when we introduced Chameleon, after that, whether it was Chatu, whether it was Hamova, whether it was whoever was singing, people would walk into the studio and be like, "Is this Chameleon?" So my idea was like, okay, you know what, let's mess with people a little bit, just for branding. So I said, you guys should be. They were both working on their own albums, and if you listen to them, yes. So what we did is that I just got that album, the two albums which were halfway in, and I mixed them up, and I had songs. They mixed up their singing, just to confuse people because people did not know. Yeah, they were like.
And then that's how was Camilo. So when that came out to.
So it's like, is this Chameleon? Is this Chameleon? So I was getting tired of that. I was like, okay, listen, dude, we need to.
Have a separate brand.
Yeah,
the only way you stand out is if you
are together. Yeah, so I'm gonna slow down your own albums, but at least let's make you. So I kind of like even forced them into it, and then because I could see what was gonna happen. Then eventually Hamova released his album, and he was launched. Yeah. So basically, but unfortunately, we never got around to Chatu's album, though the album was fully formed. But that's another story.
So, amongst the people that presented their stuff to you, is there anyone in the industry that you're like, oh, I should have signed that, or you signed everyone that you felt they had for at the time they presented it?
You know what? Like Sling Beats was like a funeral house every day. You know? So like in my capacity as a human being, there's no way we would have signed everyone. So I have no feelings like I should have signed this person or not signed this person. I don't have those feelings because we're living in the time, and whoever it was that was closest was getting the opportunity, and it was not possible to give everyone an opportunity. That place was busy. So I'm glad that a lot of people, some people like I didn't even see at the studio, and they were like, I used to come to the studio. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, okay, cool, like bless you. And some of them are big now, and I'm like, yeah, bless you, because that's your own journey. You were meant to come through. You were meant to come through and then go somewhere else and find your opportunity somewhere else.
So at this point, the internet wasn't as big as it is right now in terms of where you can. It's the global village where you can access anyone. How did that series of songs that you did with Radio and Weasel and the Uganda link have come up with Ozzy?
Like I had a friend of mine who contacted me. He's a Zimbabwean and is a really good friend of mine, Munya. And he brought an artist because he heard about the.
He brought an artist in Zambia.
Yeah, from Uganda because he used to live in Uganda. And then he came through and he was like, I want you to do a couple of songs for me. And that's how we got to know each other. And from then on, he's a person who's very, very passionate about music. We did do like a song. One of the songs is even in like one of Chameleon's albums. So that's how that relationship started. And then
who's the artist you came with? Well,
I don't want to disrespect them by not remembering.
yeah. No, I mean, if you.
I remember. I forget a lot of stuff.
Yeah, yeah. It's been
I'm getting old. Okay, so yeah, so.
So you came through and then you worked on the songs that you wanted.
Yeah. So for that particular artist, and then we kept one for Camilla's album.
Yes.
And that's how, from then on, a relationship was formed.
So you went back to Zimbabwe or you went to UG?
No, he's a Zimbabwean living in Uganda.
Okay.
So he ended up moving into Nigeria, which was very helpful for our relationship,
yes,
because you know, like then we started doing a lot of things even in Nigeria and whatever, way before Nigerian music was big, you know. So yeah, we formed that relationship, and when we formed that relationship, I now started traveling with Ozzy to Uganda.
Well, why Ozzy amongst everyone in the stable?
I'll guess that because Ozzy is the person that I was working with at that time.
Okay.
Yes, and also he had the sound that could blend with what they were doing.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So I mean, dancehall is big in
big guy in UG.
Yeah, in UG. So they already knew about him because Potential, which the remix Potential, which Ben Blazer had done, was already making like a huge.
Also, his music had already gone through.
Yes. So even Chimtengo was a huge song there. For some reason, I don't know why, they called it Biniva. And if you want to Biniva. So you know, and it's funny because I went to.
Also, he was already making a way of in UG.
Yes, that's why it was easy for them to.
I get it.
Yeah, and we were really big there without understanding just how big we were there. Because I remember going on one of my trips, I was in a club in Uganda, and a TV crew came to me and said, "We heard that you were in the country," and they started interviewing me right there.
Impromptu, like
yes. So we had made waves like that. Yeah. Ozzy was getting picked up on, like in Rwanda. Ozzy was picked up in a limo. You know, back in the day, with fans at the airport.
I wish video was a thing then. That footage.
With fans at the airport, and in a limo. So, like, they had a lot of respect for us. Yeah. So it's of course it's a past life, but it's nice.
That's a foundation, because I got tuned into Ugandan music best of that collaboration that you did with. Like, I wasn't tuned into the music. The first one I got to know the artists and stuff like that. So you're in UG, how does the radio and visual collab come up?
No, I mean, like, Munya arranged that for us because they already heard the original song.
Yes.
And then they wanted to work on
also they picked songs to say,
Then we traveled, I think the first time we traveled, that's when we worked on, I produced Take My Heart.
Yes.
Yeah. So it was almost.
Also, Take My Heart you did it from UG. You produced it from.
I started it from Uganda, but it was a bit stressful, so I finished it here. But at least we started recording when I was there. So we had already created like a friendship.
Yeah.
And we were trying to push this Uganda. And I even came up with a group for Roberto and Tony.
Oh, was Roberto part of that trip?
No. He ended up. I think it was later that he traveled, but we came up with a group because now we were working like, let's organize this. So I had a group which I came up with called UZ47, and we did a track. And UZ47 was Roberto from Zambia and Tonics from Uganda. And they did a song called Swag Meter, which is like a huge hit in East Africa, and people still don't know about that. Huge song. Huge song in East Africa. Swag Meter. Like, if I go there, like, that's the producer for Swag Meter. But here people don't even know what's there.
No, that's a good thing where you've got different songs and making different versions.
Yeah, because it was basically for that market, and it never picked up here, but it was like Swag Meter is like if anybody, if I just step off like in East Africa and say, I'm the one who produced Swag Meter, they don't know who Chameleon is, they don't know whoever is, but they know what Swag Meter is.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, so that was good. That was with Roberto.
And they came in Zambia for a show, right? Radio and visual.
We actually.
Was it his launch? That was his launch.
Yeah, we did a launch for Ozzy's album, and they came and they supported us. RIP Radio. They passed away.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Weasel is still with us.
It's still pushing.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. And as of last year, I'm aware that you've been working on is it compilation or an album, a Charlie Bravo album? What?
You know, like I'm losing steam. Like I'm really like.
You put the music down last I checked. Because you know,
I came up with I think I came up with the best album for this year.
Not the one that was it not 2020 when I saw the.
No, I came up with something in 2016, and I was happy with that. But like the album that I came up with, and I released in May this year.
It's family.
I think it's the best album of the year. But you know, like I just don't have the energy to promote it. I'm tired. You know, I'm tired. But it's
because I'm not even aware that you put it out.
You know, like I put it out. You know, like I had that hype,
yes,
and then I just like. As soon as it was released, it's not like I did any interviews, I did not do any music.
What's it called? Because I'm surprised that it's been out there. I didn't know you had put it out.
It's called One Drum 2.
Yo.
And One Drum 2 is, it's fire. It's the best album. Like, I'm not trying to...
No, I wouldn't like, I mean,
I'm not trying to say...
track record.
Yeah, it's the best album for this year, but it's just something that, you know, I just, yeah, maybe I'm
so it's on digital platforms or?
Yes, it's on everything. Spotify, Deezer, Vesasani, it's on everything. Like I did that part and then I had to focus on other things. So, but hopefully maybe this coming year.
So who made the album in terms of artists?
There was Toela, there was Mike Berner.
On the same song?
Toela and Mike Berner on the same song. I had, you see, I'm forgetting. But I mean, it just focuses like yeah. I mean, I had Chameleon and Crisis.
Yeah.
Now Senga Katongo. Yeah. They've got a really nice joint there. I got Marcy there, if you remember Marcy.
Yes.
From back in the day. I've got Mumbayachi there.
Wow.
I've got
how many songs are on it?
It's a 20-piece album.
Wow.
And I've got Destro, who does most of the intros. I've got Mutinta.
And all the production is you're doing the production?
Yes, and I wrote most of the stuff, and it's probably my best work.
I mean, if you say that, and you've written for Chameleon and Ozzy, and I mean, you're not doing right? Yeah, so, I mean, we wouldn't doubt that. I'm just surprised I wasn't aware that you had put it out. So I was like, no, when is this album?
I'm just weak, you know, I'm just weak, like, you know, like when I get some brain space, it's also, you know, the way I created the album is that the album begins but it never ends. But you have to listen to it to understand.
Yeah.
And
it's a storyline?
It's a body of work. It's not like songs put to run. Yeah. It's a body of work and it continues. And when it ends, it starts over and you don't even know that it started over. So I put in a lot of work, and it's got sounds that people have not yet heard.
No, I'm definitely I wasn't Charlie, how would you put up? I know you're creative, so where are you more inclined to at this point in life? Like what's your inclination in terms of the creative space?
I mean, like I'm just trying to support other people, you know, who I'm just trying to support other people. I've got like producers here that I'm trying to make them, you know, like take advantage of their talents and make something of themselves. Yeah. And also some artists that I'm trying to work with, but they're all new artists. Yeah. So that is something that is important for me on the artistic side. But also I'm really putting a leg now into film production.
I mean, around studio space.
Just to create a space for me to.
Those stories used to write
yes. I mean, I still write. So I want to have that.
Those scripts.
I want to write stuff and everything. So I mean, it's business as usual. Yeah. Most of the work that we do here is a little bit mechanical because it's like commercials. Yes. It's, stuff that, you know, like other people.
In terms of videos or both audio?
I mean, we do documentaries. We work with the government and we do all sorts of things, and it's a little bit, especially for a person like me, it can be a little bit cumbersome because, you know, like I like to, but you know what, you need to work.
So like, Shani, what would be your words for everyone that has been inspired by your life, that has followed you? Like, well, I'm one of those people, by the way, who's been inspired by your story. Like, what would be your words for anyone that is trying to get into a creative space, but they are apprehensive about it, and how do they go about it? So you focus on that camera there.
Okay, so my advice is that, you know, that I had a foot ahead of the people that were in the industry at the time, because, you know, I didn't go into the arts until I had kind of figured out how business works. What do contracts look like? How do you make money from this thing? So I feel like a lot of people get stuck because they feel like they're gonna make it just as an artist, and that's not gonna happen. That's why Jay-Z is rich, you know, because business is everything. And if you go into this art business without any standard general business acumen or knowledge, you are in for a difficult period of time. You're gonna be taken advantage of, you know, and you're gonna get frustrated and you're gonna get depressed. So I don't know how talented you are. You know, maybe people won't even like your music. Maybe they will like your music, but at least before you start, try to figure out how the business works. Publishing, there's such a thing as publishing, copyrights, things like that. Just, there's Google now. So that's my advice.
Just right after you tell you one thing, subscribe to the channel.